the Steelers NFL draft board and where they currently stand and how they kind of formulate their plan, because I think that that's very important to talk about at this stage. We're 48 hours away. The Steelers, as of, I want to say like Friday, they typically finalize their board last Friday. They sit down, okay, this is it. This is what we're looking at. It's all said and done. We're going into Thursday. We're feeling really good about this. The way they go about that is they line themselves up. They do not mock the entire first round team by team. Instead, they simply just mock themselves. If we were the Pittsburgh Steelers and we had pick number 1, who would we select? If we were the Pittsburgh Steelers and we had pick number 2, who would we select? And so on and so forth. That gets them to 20. Now, what that allows them to do is if they are at pick 20 and there are guys 15 through 20 still on the board, they're looking at it and saying, there are still 5 names here that we feel comfortable to this pick. That allows us to consider moving backwards if we believe that those 5 guys, and I don't know what Omar Khan's number is, but I do know that Kevin Colbert's was 5 guys. If there are 5 players that the Pittsburgh Steelers feel comfortable with, they will allow themselves to move back 5 spots, understanding that those 5 guys will still be there, or at least one of those 5 guys will still be there. In this situation, I don't know what Omar's number is. I don't know how many picks he's willing to move back. I mean, you could talk about Kevin Colbert willing to move back, but the team hasn't done it since 2001. So, kind of take that as you will, I guess. Those guys, those brackets, that mock draft that they do themselves allows them to have a firm understanding of where each guy lies on their board instead of just an NFL draft board, because I think that changes everything. They no longer have to guess about who's going where and who's going to be available at 20, which a lot of guys, ourselves included, when we created our big board, you looked at it and we were talking, okay, is that guy really going to be there at 20? The Steelers don't look at it that way. They say, if he is there at 20, awesome. He was 13 on our draft, so let's go for him. That being said, the Steelers do not move, and Omar Khan said it yesterday, you will not move away from a good player. You will not trade yourself out of a pick if there is a good player available, and I don't think as of right now, my expectations are that the Steelers will move out of 20, but I do expect them to get a ton of phone calls come draft night for that 20th. I'm talking a ton. I would imagine that the Pittsburgh Steelers get more phone calls for pick number 20 than any other team in the first round, just because of where that sweet spot is. And Tomlin talked about it yesterday. Like 20 is just historically where it's that drop off. So if you're looking to move up, 20 seems to be where you're at. As we sit here today, Nick, let me ask your thoughts. What are the odds Steelers make a move in this draft?
Looking at where they're at, I know we've talked, especially all last week, we really dove into the trading up versus trading back, and it all ended with, Steven saying that he would trade back, but it's kind of hard to find a spot to trade back and get all your needs handled. Yeah. So I think especially that combined with looking at the way that they haven't traded back in a long time, I don't know if they would. Do I think they would move up? Potentially, but at the same time, you look at the crop of players that are going to be in that 15 to 20 range, you're going to have a couple of options remaining, even if a lot of those names get taken in that range. So I think it's probably best if the Steelers stay put, and I think it's more likely the Steelers stay put. Would it be nice to get a little bit more draft capital in the 2nd and 3rd round this year? Yes, it would, because you have quality players that are going to fall to the 2nd and 3rd round. But honestly, with all this talk, it does certainly feel like as we get closer to the event, they're just going to end up taking the 20th pick overall.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't think that they're willing to move backwards and kind of lose out on immediate starter quality. This is top 20 pick material. I think if there are a lot of guys there and somehow the board shakes out differently, like if Zach Frazier goes 19th and you're looking at it and going, well, that shouldn't have happened. If Kool-Aid McKinstry somehow flies his way up the board, if like stuff like that starts to happen, like 8 or 9 wide receivers go in the first 20 picks, then at that point you're thinking, okay, there are just way too many options here. But if 20 falls as it should fall, the Steelers will probably have 2 or 3 guys that are like, okay, this is top 20 material, and I don't see them moving out and going anywhere else, outside of that 20th pick, just because they don't want to lose out on talent. And I agree with you. I think that the way I stand right now, we're looking at the 20th pick in the NFL draft. But that's how they go about things, and I'm sure things will change, and it's always evolving, but I don't know. Trade conversations will start probably tomorrow afternoon, lead into Thursday morning. Nothing will really heat up until the clock actually starts at 8 o'clock on Thursday. And I expect Omar Khan to. I mean, we've talked about this many times. Omar Khan does not stop working. I can only imagine what that phone is. Sometimes I put my phone down, and you know this, you cover sports. Sometimes I put my phone down and just to show somebody. Like I'll be talking to my mom, or like I got family members all the time who try to do it, and they'll be like, "No, no, you're probably exaggerating a little bit about how busy you actually are." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm really not." And I put my phone down just to show them, and it's just all day long. I could only imagine. Like Omar's phone, I'm surprised his leg doesn't shake because his phone is just going crazy in his pocket at all times. It's just the guy never stops.